Well, hello everyone. This is Patrick from Joys of Carter Life, and I'm gonna move you back a little bit. Right there. Okay. All right. Well, it's Sunday. It's time for my weekly video, which I hope you guys like. Remember, if you're liking these videos, hit the like and subscribe button because that helps me. So keep the videos going. Well, we've talked about Arkansas and how I have moved to Arkansas and we have started our life there and all that. But before we do that, I think we should go back a little bit. I think we should go back today, the day of the wedding, the day I married my beautiful wife that has got sainthood. At least I think so. Anyhow, here we go. So, speaking of that, I was thinking about how pretty she looked today at church. Sometimes you just have to give thanks. You know, we should give thanks all the time for the many blessings we get each day. If you would have asked me as a kid that I would be married to a beautiful lady like that for 23 years so far, probably laugh. But God's been good. All right, so anyhow, the wedding. Let's talk about the wedding. Well, my wife and me were dating for about, well, by the time I got married, it was 2 years. She was teaching at the Christian school at the church I grew up at, where my grandma used to take us and everything. At the time, I was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. We had a mutual friend. That'll be another story. But anyhow, we started writing. Then I went over the Pacific because I was still in the military at this time. Came back, got stationed in Aberdeen, Maryland. And that is when things started to really look up for us. That was in May, and then 9/11 happened in September, and that was a life changer for all of you that have been alive during that time period. But anyhow, we got through that, and I went home one weekend to her family's. I'd already asked her dad, and that's another story. We'll talk about that later, but not today, but next, another video. But so anyhow, she said yes, but then we were trying to the wedding. We decided it would be at her home church, right? But the pastor would be from my home church, from where she taught at. Well, she taught kindergarten. She was a kindergarten teacher. Well, so we would visit back and forth, but not long after I had proposed to her, I got sent to DC because of the bio threat that was going on right after 9/11. You all remember that? With envelopes and things that were showing up and all that. So that's where I ended up. And then we weren't sure where I was going from there. So we were trying to plan this wedding when I wasn't there and not even sure if I was going to be there. So that's just the way we roll. So we had to have these classes throughout our engagement, which I didn't even know if I could make it or not because of my situation with everything going on. But we managed to get them in and got everything arranged, and then we set the date for June 22nd of 2002. telling my age, but don't tell anybody. Anyhow, we invited family members and people that we both knew, and we had a good many that was going to come, and I think a lot of them came just because they wanted to see if we were really getting married. Because me and my wife were pushing the farther in for young people to get married at the time. Nowadays, it's nothing really. But so we're getting ready for the wedding. It's time for me and my wife. We did a lot of the things planning for this. And the wedding, the dress rehearsal, the night before the wedding, I had traveled up from the fort. The fort was right exactly in the time frame. I could be no farther than 2 hours away. And when I was at her house, I was it was close. Okay. So going back to the dress rehearsal. We had the dress rehearsal. Everyone had rooms to stay at because everyone was coming from where I lived up this way and to my wife's house, to my wife's family. So we were all excited, nervous. Well, Pennsylvania Turnpike. Now, this turnpike is a historic turnpike, but it is the most ironic turnpike. You just never know what is going to happen on this turnpike. Well, guess what? It didn't disappoint because most of our guests that were from my side and the people that she worked with and the pastors from the church were all from down where I lived, where I grew up, which means they had to travel up about an hour, depending on how you drive, hour and a half. But the easiest route was to go through on the turnpike. Well, all great as can be, right? Because if you don't, you have to know the back roads to get to her house. You have to know about Route 31 and 220 and all that, you know. Well, anyhow, it's getting late. People were coming late, and we're like, what in the world is going on? It turns out the first time that I can ever remember in my life growing up in this state in Pennsylvania, they closed the turnpike right there where the tunnels are. You couldn't come through the tunnels. They closed that off. Well, fine and dandy. Except now, how in the world are guests going to make it? You know, so we thought, oh boy. So we were a little bit delayed. And my father and my one aunt and uncle, they were stuck in that. And so we had food all set up and everything, and we thought, oh boy, what are we going to do? So it was going to be extended a little bit longer so we could get everyone there, especially my dad. I wanted my family to be there. I was close to my uncle and aunt who was bringing my dad. I was very close to them, to my uncle and aunt, close to them. So Then we're waiting on them. I'm down in the basement of this church. The ladies are all getting ready upstairs in the big, I guess you would call it a Sunday school room, huge room, okay? And we were downstairs. Well, we were getting dressed in our tuxedos and everything. And I did not know, I did not get married in my military BDUs. And my wife has military dress. And my wife has never left me forget that. But I didn't. I went with a tux. And because I figured I'm not going to be in the Army my whole life. But anyhow, so now we have no picture of me in my Army dress, So anyhow, moving on from that. So we're all getting dressed, and I'm downstairs, and my father-in-law's in there, and we all prayed, and we're getting dressed, and got a phone call from upstairs. Well, someone came down and told us that the state police was upstairs, and the state police officer, and he wanted to talk to me. You got to picture this now. This is, here I am, the guy that came out of nowhere, started courting his daughter, asked her to marry me. She said yes, and he has never seen me before anything, never. And so he looks at me and I look at him, and he goes upstairs. He said, I'll go. Because I'm thinking, what? I have no idea what's going on. And I am sure he's thinking, what did I allow my daughter to do? Well, he goes upstairs, talks to the state police officer. Listen to this, I had invited my platoon, the squad of soldiers that I was in the Army with. And my first sergeant couldn't make it, so his wife was coming, and they were all coming together. Well, they got stuck in that lovely traffic, even though they were coming from another direction. But traffic was all backed up because there was like a corner, like a center point where y'all had to go through to get to us. Well, their side coming in was all blocked because the tunnel was closed on the turnpike. So it was a mess. But she got a hold of the state police to let them know that they were coming. They were just running late. Talk about scary. You think, my goodness, this is all crazy. Well, it never gets any better. Well, we get married and gave our vows. And in my vow to my beautiful wife, I told her, I said, I don't have any money. I said, but what I can promise you is a wonderful life, and it will never be dull. And I have kept that vow pretty good, I think. So, anyhow, we got through the wedding. We did something that we loved it. We dismissed the rows. We went up dismissing each row. That way we got a few seconds with everyone, And then we went over to the reception hall, and we actually went around talking to everyone, so we didn't really get to eat. We actually ate on our way to the hotel because we were so hungry. We had McDonald's for our wedding, our first dinner after we got married. And but we had to get back to the post because we had one day to in process, Sonda, my wife, and then we were leaving to go on our honeymoon, which was in Hawaii. Now, that's how we'll talk. Remember when I said about the Pacific Ocean? Keep that in mind. Okay, so because one story will bring that up. Anyhow, we got there, and why we had to do it that day is because we were applying for housing. And I was told that if you take what they have, you could probably get it right away. But if you're picky, you're going to have to wait. Well, we go, and Aberdeen is split into two at the time. You had the main post, and then you had Edgewood, where all the chemicals were. And that's where I was. I was on Edgewood. Well, they had nothing open in Aberdeen. They did have one in Edgewood where I was stationed at. We're like, oh, hey, that sounds great. And they're like, it's a townhouse, but it hasn't been updated. We're like, okay, great. We'll take it. Because, here we are, newlyweds. Both of us worked for a living. We come from a working family. So it's not like we were coming with money just rolling out of our pockets. So I didn't think we were picky people. But I'm telling you, we fell in love with this place. We had a driveway. We had a big living room, a kitchen. We had our own garage, and the garage opened up into the laundry room, which opened into the kitchen, and the kitchen went into the living room. And then right at the front door, you would turn left, and there was a half bath right there. And then if you went right when you first came in the door, you went upstairs, and you had a big bathroom, a bedroom, which was our bedroom, and then another bedroom right here. So it was really, and we had a backyard that was fenced in. What more could you ask for? And we didn't pay rent. We didn't pay utilities. That was all paid by the fort. The only thing we paid for was for our phone and cable. And when I say phone, I mean the one that hung up on the wall that I talked about the other day, and cable, which was something you used a remote. Nowadays you have YouTube and all that. Well, YouTube, you didn't have any of that kind of stuff, just a whole bunch of channels. Well, from there, come to think of it, I think at that point it was just coming out that you could get a satellite company which I think it might have been Direct Cable. Direct Satellite. I don't even know if they have that anymore. But where you could be watching a program and you could pause it and go do something and come back. Not so much that you could set the time or when you wanted to watch that program. That was crazy. To us, that was out of this world. But nowadays, you do whatever, pause it, speed it up, turn it, whatever. Anyhow, where was I going? Oh, yeah. So all we had to do was pay for our cable and our phone. That's it. We were scot-free. And it was beautiful. We thought we were living in high off the hog, as you say. And we even had a dishwasher. We were ecstatic. Oh, and central air. Talk about living high. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything better than that. So we was spending the night in the house after we had gotten all in processed, because we had to go through insurance and the whole 9 yards. Your spouse gets inducted in the military in process just like you. There's a whole bunch of little departments that they have to go to. Well, we had set it up and had everything squeezed that we got in one day so we could leave the following morning for Hawaii. The funny thing about it is we were going to spend the night in our new home and sleep on an air mattress. Kind of cozy, huh? Well, anyhow, we were there and it got really, really cold in the middle of the night. And I'm like, I'll go downstairs and turn it off, you know. Well, when we got there, my went to go to bed, my wife said about leaving the door open. I'm like, no, we'll close it. I'm like, we can close it. It'll be okay, you know, because we were thinking about heat and everything. You know, we're still penny pinchers here. So I closed the door because I thought with it closed, air stays in. We don't have, you know, anyhow. Well, we weren't paying the bills, but, you know, we didn't want to go crazy. So anyhow, we shut the door. Well, I got up to go downstairs to turn down the air, and I forgot. I did not I forgot to close it tight. So I yanked on the door, but when I did, I was not away from the door. So when I opened it, it cracked me really hard in the forehead. Talk about starting out the marriage on the right foot, right? Well, anyhow, this is getting pretty long, so I better stop it here, and we'll pick up on our story next time. So as you see, there's a lot of joy that goes on in this life. So remember, if you like these videos, hit like and subscribe. All right, talk to you later. Have a good week. Bye.